On. Hi everybody, I'm Marcia McCarrow
Hello, I'm Carol Cooper.
and we're here today with Valerie Dwyer, who is an author, coach and entrepreneur. Hi Valerie.
Hi.
Good morning to you. Valerie, could you please give us some contact details where people could get hold of you if they're interested in finding out more about what you do, and I'm sure they will be.
Yes. The website is www.mywonderfullifecoach.co.uk, and people can reach me direct on valerie@mywonderfullifecoach.co.uk.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And thank you so much, Valerie, for being with us today to give us this interview. We found it really difficult to think about where to start because you've done so many different things and your career to date has been so varied. You have got your books that you've written. I've got two of them here today. So if I can show those, and we're going to be talking about those. And you've actually got a third one there. If you've got a copy, fantastic. So we can have a talk about that as well today. But you've also visionary at My Wonderful Life Coach. You are a best-selling author. You've written a number of programs to help and support people along their journeys in terms of getting to where you know that most people can get to if they really want to. And also you've got this backstory which is about your own personal journey, the trials, tribulations and things that have happened to you throughout your life that have made you really come out much stronger as an individual, as a person, that we need to get into. So lots of stuff there to talk about. But I want to really start by talking about the books that you've got. So Woman Power in particular, and Believe You Can. So I'll just hold those up again.
Mm-hmm.
Two beautifully written books actually, and the chapters that you contribute to have a really different feel to them. So could you tell us a little bit about how you got into writing both of these, really?
Okay, well, the journey actually began a little bit before that, because I found that I was being approached by other authors who were writing books, asking if they could write a bit about me or if I'd contribute a bit to their book. So this happened 5 or 6 times, and then these were sort of really just paragraphs. And then the opportunity came up for the first kind of key book where I wrote the whole chapter, which was Woman Power, Strategies for Female Leaders. And this came up at a time when I'd just come out of really having, as well as my entrepreneurial career, a very high level, high profile career as variously president, chairman, board member, director, managing director. These were all female firsts, that kind of leadership, those leadership roles. And when this opportunity came up, I thought, well, what is the contribution I can make to Woman Power? Power is about leadership, it's about self-leadership, but it's about leading other people as well. And I think that's what people expected. They expected about leading other people, but we need to begin with ourselves. Yeah. We need self-leadership before we can even understand about leading other people and begin to lead other people. And then, so my thought was, what's the most powerful message I can give in a book that is to help women worldwide step up in their role as leader or step up to become a leader? And it was the message about vision. Vision is the most powerful source of authentic leadership. So our own vision for our own life, but also for the world that we're in. And then we begin from that starting point to help other people understand the power of their own vision. A vision is something we're born with, and we have it in our early childhood. But as we begin to grow and we relate to the external influences and guidance from other people, and as we get to school, the vision becomes contained inside, and we, in many cases, forget it. Yeah, unless our life takes us in the direction where it's very overt. Yeah. So that was the reason for that book. And it did come from a very how we lead perspective, but how we lead through vision. And the Believe book came really several years later, after I'd had one or two more, shall we say, personal life experiences. And I was then, I think, much more in tune with people on a different level. And so I wanted to convey my empathy to the readers for the experiences they were currently going through, which was not about leadership, but which was about, in many cases, overcoming or surviving.
Absolutely.
And this was where I opened up to personal experience.
The Believe book, guys,
yes.
is a really good read. And what struck me about what you'd written in terms of the personal journey that you went on, and the openness and the frankness of where you went to in terms of some of the things that have happened to you in your life, and how you managed to, through all that, build that resilience back up again to keep moving forward. And the message really was quite a powerful one around that those small steps are really key and really significant to taking you from where you think you are at that time to where you want to be, and not to ignore those small steps either, to catalogue them and remember them and use them as part of your armory to move you forward, really. So for me, it was a really powerful journey in terms of looking at your own personal life. How did it feel, sort of reliving some of this stuff and getting it down on paper?
Well, I have to say that I've now reached a place in my life where I've had so many of these experiences that I'm able to step outside. So I can step outside and look in and as an observer. Yeah. So it doesn't hold that emotional grip on me, and I can work through the elements of what happened. And this has helped me no end to develop my programs. It's helped me to be analytical about it and to understand what impact is all about. And that's one of my key words. Vision is my most key word, but impact is probably a very close second. In order to have impact, I discovered by analysing my experiences that you have sound, sight, colour, movement, emotions, and aromas. And it's a combination of those elements that I use in my programs to help people to make a shift. Yeah. If you think about every memory you've ever had, something triggered it. It was either a colour, a sound, an aroma, an emotion, a feeling, a movement. Something triggered it. But the most impactful memory has all of those. And that's why the period that I think you're referring to with the trauma was so profound, because it had absolutely every element, but in a very, very high and intense degree.
Yeah. In terms of My Wonderful Life and the coaching that you do there, what Was there any significant inspiration that made you want to start that company, that business?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've been gifted this wonderful life through the experiences that I've gone through. Every one of those experiences now, I can look back and say, yes, I can see the gift in that. And there are even experiences where, and if you can bring some humor in to that memory, you reframe it and you bring some humor in. But actually, I do have one that really did have some humor in it, and I was able to see that humor. And this is what took me from being paralyzed in a wheelchair with a prognosis of a life in a wheelchair with small children at the time and a business, that took me from that state into revitalizing my vision and bringing me out of it. And so, you know, nobody still understands what happened, but I do understand what happened. And that's why I'm so passionate now about getting my program, not just with the one-to-one VIPs, which is what I've been doing for many years now with entrepreneurs, but to get it out into the world. And it's why I've written the latest book, and I give every single step in the correct sequence, and each one has exercises. And the person who, you know, I already have some advanced reviews, raving reviews for people who've actually worked through the exercises and they've made their shift. It's about transformation and about having a shift. And so that's why the book, and it's why the program, and the paperback now, you've seen a mock-up of the paperback because it's out on Kindle. It's a digital book at the moment. But the paperback, I've had so many requests so that they can do the exercises in the book, is launching on the 11th of October, and you're the first to hear this. And as well as the program, the online program launches on the same day because they're connected.
Fantastic. Could you just hold the book up again for us so we can see that lovely cover?
Yeah, this is my courage tiger.
Yes.
This is my
a lot of your
tiger.
posts that you put out there have that tiger on. So very familiar.
I give in the book some examples of how you can build up your courage, and there are various different ways. Some of them are quite funny, and you know, I realized as I was writing the book that I have to put some online resources to help people, because not everyone will get it from the book. So you know, when people connect to the page that has the waiting list for the program, they'll also get the opportunity to join a private Facebook group, and there they will get some audios and videos. They'll get some meditations, but they'll also get, I'm going to do them on video because I've done them before, but it's some of the activities that you can do to shift your mood, but also to protect you from a negative environment.
Yeah. Fantastic, really exciting stuff out there. Were there many people, because obviously you've been doing this for a long time, and I believe 30 odd years you've been around doing similar things, helping people to grow and develop.
Yes.
Were there many people in the early days that were telling you that, you know, this isn't the right route to go, and what are you doing going in this direction, and why does a woman, for example, want to be doing this? Did you have much of that influence?
Oh gosh. Well, it goes way back before that, Marcia and Carol. When I first started my first business when I was 18, at that time you could not get finance if you were a woman. So you had either to have a husband or a male that you knew stand as a guarantor. So it's pretty ancient, isn't it? So it took me, I wasn't prepared to do that. So it took me a year to get that business off the ground. But the thing I want to say is this, I have shifted things slightly in the way that I deliver my program now, because way back I was working with boards of directors, senior management teams, senior leaders, to do shared visioning, and entrepreneurs to do shared visioning within their businesses that had got, you know, stuck or off track, or they hit a plateau and, you know, couldn't move forward. What I do is I take a cross section with the board, president, chairman, managing director, but a cross section from the company, because you know, a lot of the intelligence about a business in those days lay with the people on the front line, not those sitting back in the boardroom. So I think the most people I did in one session, and that was a real challenge, 50 people. So we had 5 tables of 10 people doing this shared visioning process, and that took a lot out of me. But
sure.
you know, we did it, and the company together, and you might ask, why a shared vision? Well, I'll tell you why. When you create a shared vision and you involve people and they are part of it, A, you do not sabotage the vision, but B, they do not sabotage the vision either. It's ownership.
Yeah,
ownership.
Yeah.
So, but then as I got to work with bigger companies, what I found was there was so much time taken and so much politics, but time taken to make decisions and go through committees. And I wanted to change the world, and I wanted to be doing it now. So this is when I got my first break, which was to work with a single entrepreneur who had a small business, and it was a shared visioning process, but quick decision making, and they got it, and you know, we stormproofed the success strategies, and got on with a master plan, and it was go. And so, and that the person that I worked with in that company, would you believe it, when she and her husband sold the company, and then she was starting out afresh. What do I do? Where do I start? The first person she contacted was me. So I was able to help her with her first visioning session. And you know, a vision's not forever, because you can actually achieve everything in it. And this is exactly what she did. And so she has been back for her third visioning session, because she's achieved everything in the other ones. And this is, you know, she will not mind me saying, this is Karen Williams, and Karen founded the Buddy Bag Foundation, which is so close to my heart. But can you imagine why, knowing how it's possible in a short space of time, you know, 6 weeks or so, to completely shift your mindset, change your, see your vision, be absolutely clear, switch on your success SatNav, as I call it. Can you see why I would want the world to have that? Because my passion is creating a wonderful world, and that's where the name My Wonderful Life Coach came from. It's not my wonderful life, but it's every person that I work with.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Valerie. I'll pass over to Carol.
Well, Valerie, I've so enjoyed listening to that first part of the interview. I really have. A vision is a marvellous thing, and it's very true. But I want also to ask you, who are the people who supported you and helped you along the road in this journey that you've been on?
Okay, well, I've got to say, first and foremost, it's my family. I have to say that. Family first and foremost. It would be difficult, so difficult, to pinpoint individuals. I owe a lot to reading and to books. I think, as Marsha's probably well aware, but I think the help has come in the form of and you referred to it just now, Marcia, it's come in the form of, do you really think you ought to be doing that?
Yes,
So it's
absolutely.
because I am always, and it could be my downfall, but I'm always up for a challenge, because I don't believe anything's possible. Anything is possible, and that's what you'll get. But I believe everything is possible. But first, you need that clear vision. So in terms of, I would say, you know, helping become a coach, a mentor, I guess it's people who turned around to me and said, when I was actually a consultant doing business turnarounds, you know, you're consulting, but do you know you're also coaching?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because you're helping us find our own solutions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And do you know that you're also mentoring? Really? Yes, because you're telling us what you did in that situation. You know, the two are completely separate, but yeah. I enjoy both. And at the moment, I gave up mentoring for a number of years because I mentored for 10 years with the Prince's Trust, helping youngsters who were disadvantaged to start and grow their own businesses. And I have clients now who are global, almost celebrities, you know, worked with Karl Lagerfeld and Chanel and Dior and these companies, and produce their beautiful glossy books that sell for about £50, and prints that start at, I don't know how many thousands of pounds. But, you know, going from, you know, living in a bedsit in a bit of a disreputable area of a city and not knowing what they wanted to do and where they wanted to go, and me seeing that this person is so talented. You know, that's part of it, I think. It's being able to see what people don't see themselves. I think, and helping and encouraging them with it.
Absolutely.
I think you don't always recognise it about yourself.
It's true.
When people were saying, well, you're mentoring and you're advising, and you think, am I? And that's exactly what you are doing. You're so right. So, Valerie, who have been your role models, you know, in the industry? And, you know, how did they inspire you?
Well, I've got to say that I don't think you'd necessarily say in the industry, because Oprah's one of my, you know, I just so admire where she's come from, what she's done, and the range, because, you know, with 10 businesses under my belt, I became labelled a serial entrepreneur. And really that's what she is in a way.
Yeah.
But I do admire Oprah. And in terms of the industry, again, you've got to ask me, because people like Dean Graziosi, Tony Robbins, the people who have huge, massive followings, I have listened to what they do, and I've looked at what they do. And there are parts where I can pinpoint and say, oh, yes, I know that. But, you know, there are people who aren't so well known. I mean, Jack Black. Have you heard of Jack Black?
The actor, yes, I have.
But have you heard of Jack Black, the founder of Mindstore?
Oh, no, not at all.
Oh, no. I don't think I've talked about it in any of the books yet, but it's probably be in the next one. Yes, actually, there's a little bit in here about that. This is about how powerful probably self-hypnosis can be. I just happened to overhear something on a television one day, and I think it might have been in a store, but I turned to look, and this guy was being interviewed, and I heard the name Jack Black. And I don't know, something triggered, and I went and looked up this Jack Black, and he was the founder of an organisation called Mindstore. Well, lo and behold, about 2 weeks later, I saw an announcement that Mindstore was coming to my local city, and they were doing a 3-day business event. And well, it was local. I didn't have to stay over at the hotel. I didn't have a lot of money at the time, but I decided to go because I thought there was something to it. And at this 3-day event, on the first day, Jack did this demonstration with a can of beer, about holding this can of beer. And, you know, it's a bit detailed to go into, but anyway, what he showed was how drinking alcohol can affect your chemistry. And how it's bad for you, and or so on, but caffeine and so on and so on. Yeah. Anyway, the upshot was, on the first day, I gave up coffee, tea, alcohol, caffeine, and I had a nightmare of 2 days following on, but withdrawal symptoms. But I stayed off for 3 years. Water, milk, soft drinks, and then I made a conscious decision. I'm going to go back and drink tea and coffee. But what that proved was, you see, it was my choice, my decision. And so everybody can make their choice, their decision, and they can stick with it as long as they want to stick with it. And then they can make a new choice. That was how I got into Mindstalk. But I also learned how to build a bridge between my left brain and my right creative brain. Right. And that bridge enabled me to build a little place in my right brain called my house on the right bank. And in my house on the right bank, I have a recording studio, video studio, and I can create my videos at night. I can create my video for tomorrow. I can say exactly how everything's going to run. Things might come along tomorrow to, you know, shift things a bit, but I'm pretty clear without even having to think about it, because it's in there in my subconscious, how tomorrow's going to go. And that might lead you on to asking where my happy place is.
Could do that later. I just no, that's quite an inspirational thing, really, because it does teach you have choices, and not everything which some people come up against is black and white.
No,
you've got to have the areas where you've got to make the choices, or go back and do things that you were happy doing before. So earlier on, Marcia, in her introduction, she mentioned some of your achievements since going into business, which obviously, as you've said, 30 plus years. What other achievements have you not mentioned so far? Because it's important that we try and get the whole picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how and why were they important?
Okay. Okay. Well, I mentioned the singing thing, being as I raised it earlier, but I love to sing. I won't say I've got a brilliant voice, but in my teens, with a friend who played guitar, we got the opportunity for an audition on a program called Opportunity Knocks. And it wasn't meant to be, because her mother took seriously ill and we couldn't get a replacement guitarist. And so the audition never took place. However, not long after that, well, it's actually probably is quite a while after that, but I joined a folk group called Tinderbox. And the kind of music we sang was, you know, like the trains and boats and planes. And most people will have no idea about these songs. But, you know, when people tend to have an anniversary and they put a playlist together, sometimes these songs come up. So when we have a party and there's a karaoke going, I absolutely go full belt. And some of my favourite songs are actually Whitney Houston, which is, you know, that's a very sad story, but it's more recent. And I love the kind of song that you can get behind the microphone, you've got a big space, in this case a field, and you can absolutely belt that out. And more recently, probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, a friend who is a singer-songwriter, Philippa Hanna, she is a Christian singer-songwriter. She a beautiful personality. And she has won lots of awards, and in fact went over and spent some time with Dolly Parton about a year and a half ago. Philippa and I wrote a song together, which has not yet been published, but it is to music, and I do have to decide what to do with it. But it's kind of an anthem, and it's called She Is. And I get goosebumps actually when I just even say the title. I saw it as being the opening anthem for a massive women's conference, or women's enterprise conference, or women's leadership conference, but something like that. But actually, She Is aimed at men and women, because in order to reach parity and equality, it's a journey that needs to work for all of us. And this is why my latest program, actually the beta, there was a guy on the program, and he is an action coach and a wealth coach, and he was absolutely blown away by the beta, and has now become, he says, a lifelong meditator, and he had never meditated before. So and how did that come about? My son said to me one day, "Mum, why is it you do all this work with women and you don't work with men? Because men need this too." And so that went in. Yeah. And I thought, yeah, we have walked and talked, and I've coached and I've mentored, and you know, it works with him. So that was why I did the beta with a male specifically. It worked out brilliantly. And so the program, the book, it's all for men and women. And the advisory position I have with Sit at the Table, which is a global movement to encourage more women into the boardroom, into leadership positions. We have a brilliant balance there of men and women advising and mentoring on that board.
Right. That's quite an eye-opener actually, just for your son to say, you know, why don't you consider doing this for men as well? Because it's only men and women on the planet really, so you just think to yourself, you're going one way and all of a sudden somebody says something else, and then it opens up for you. So what have been the challenges that you've had? And I know we've sort of bordered on them. So the challenges that you've had over your time working or in your life, and how have you overcome them?
Okay, well, I think it's fair to say I've had a major challenge every decade. Right. So they stand out to me as significant emotional events, all of which I've come through. And, you know, I think it proves that when you're at rock bottom, the only way is up. And, you know, this too will pass, and you will find your way through. So from, you know, I think the most significant ones were the falling from the attic of the 3-story building, which resulted in me ending up paralysed in hospital. So that was one of the most significant, and, you know, ended up with broken vertebrae and damage to my spine. But, you know, I had a choice to make at a certain point, because they were going to send me to either Stoke Mandeville or, you know, one of the places where they help people who are in that situation deal with it. And, you know, I really, my feeling for not wanting to go there was stronger and strong enough for me to be able to make the choice. I do believe that the choice does affect our chemistry, our biology, as well as our mental state and our emotions. And I have proven this in overcoming chronic illness. Well, shall I say being in remission from chronic illness, because, you know, there are flare-ups. So the paralysis incident was the major one. I think the trauma Yeah, was major, but in a different way. That affected me more mentally, clearly, even though I did have spinal damage again then. But, you know, I had a pulmonary embolism, and, you know, I was told this is one in so many million chance that I would have come through that, because it actually went through my heart. You know, this is a blood clot. It went through my heart and carried on, settled in my lung. So, but then over the last 18 months, I've had 3 operations to save the eyesight in this eye. And so, you know, there are things I had to do, for example, lay face down for a complete 10 days. And or if I got up to walk around, I had to keep my head down, because what they do is they put a gas bubble in your eye. I don't have to go into all that detail, do I? But it's an experience. And I have to say that because I opted for local anaesthetic, not general, when I had the operation, I've had the most amazing experience anyone could possibly ever have. You know, for anybody squeamish, I probably won't describe it, but I saw all the colours of the rainbow while that was going on, and I valued how skilled the surgeon who operates on anybody's eye is. Despite the outcome, you know, he was absolutely brilliant. The good news is that they stopped the condition where it was. So, you know, touch wood, is not going to deteriorate any further. I can't see as good as I saw before, but I accept it. And that's a big part of recovery. It's accepting.
I think that's absolutely right of many situations in life. I think where you know that that's how you have to live your life. I think the acceptance keeps you calm in a way.
Yes.
So, Valerie, of all the many things you've done, my love, what would you do differently if you had your time again?
If I had my time again, I would discover the power of vision much earlier. I would get it out into the wider world much earlier, and we would have overcome the sustainability crisis and issues. We would have planted more trees. We knew in the 70s, didn't we, what was happening? And the political powers and the big business community, I think, overrode what people were trying to say. And now what I'm saying now is, when people say to me, I can't wait to get back to normal. And I say, well, why? Why? Because how many of us were over busy, overloaded, not caring about ourselves, not caring about the planet? Why not stop and take this wonderful opportunity we've been given? This is what we've been given. We've been given a gift with the current circumstances to stop, take a step back, get a clean sheet, and decide what we really, really want. And I feel that most people will want something that is wonderful about this world.
Absolutely. And this is the window of opportunity in an unhappy way with the way things are going, I know. But, you know, this is the window of opportunity, and normal, what is normal, I think, anyway. So, what I want to ask you also is that you, the work that you do is on an international platform. So how does it work out for you, or how is it relevant, you know, when you work across many countries and many types of personalities and people across all the countries that you work in? How does that stay relevant to the work, to the message that you give out?
Okay. How it stays relevant is, well, I think the current climate has shown what a global world we are, and that we are not isolated, we are not alone. Some of us know that we are all connected, we are all parts of the universe. And so anything to do with vision is totally relevant for everyone. Everything to do with saving the planet and sustainability touches every one of us. And there's not one of us that truly does not affect the world we're living on and in. And I believe, Marcia, you know, we were talking about small steps earlier on, and even the small step of putting your rubbish in a bin, or segregating your rubbish, or moving from plastic straws to paper straws, or to bamboo toothbrushes from plastic toothbrushes. Every little step, and this is one reason why for every book that we sell, we plant a fruit tree in Malawi, and we provide access to education for girls in Cambodia. Now we're adding beekeeping to this, because beekeeping is so important. But more than that, I spoke earlier about Karen Williams and Buddy Bag Foundation, and what they do is for kids who are displaced to emergency care, usually with their mothers, because of domestic violence or abuse. Buddy Bags provides a little backpack, and it's age appropriate. And in there, that little bag of goodies, there's pajamas or a nightie, there's toiletries, there's toothbrush, toothpaste, there's a book, there's a buddy, cuddly teddy bear, and there's postcards, so that they can say what they think about what's happened. And you know, it's just, so for the programme that launches on the 11th of October, everyone who signs up for the programme, we will donate a complete buddy bag for a child in emergency care in the UK. And we do that through our lifelong global partnership with B1G1, which is buy one, gift one. And that is how we became a business for good. So when something good happens in our business, we do something good in the world.
That is wonderful. I've got to pass you back to Marcy now, but I've got some questions for you later. So don't go away.
Okay.
I'll hand you over to Marcy again. Thank you so much, Valerie. That was great.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
I've got loads of notes.
I know, we're all...
Really out of paper. So, we know now, and I've known for a long time, having followed your journey really to some respects, Valerie, that you are a prolific reader. As well as an author, you read a lot. And so I wanted to ask you if there was one particular book that has connected with you and inspired you, and what that book was, and what was it about the book that really connected with you and inspired you?
I've got goosebumps. Simon Sinek. Begin with why. Start with why. Why? Why are we here? Why? And this is why my journey happened, and the outcome that's happened, and the outcomes that I'm trying to get for other people. Why? We are all here for a purpose. And to be able to discover a method of enabling and empowering people to find their purpose, that is the powerful thing that happened in my life. And so that book, I heartily recommend. It's for business leaders, it's for leaders, it's for individuals, it's for everyone. But if you have a business, if you really think back, usually there's a good reason why you started it. But unfortunately, a lot of businesses lose that on the journey.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right there. And I think for my own personal journey that I, along the way, periodically have lost my why.
Yeah.
I've not kept on track with why I'm doing what I'm doing. I think I'm better at that now, and I'm stronger at it now, and I've grown, and so I don't get swayed as much as I probably did in the early days. But I think you're absolutely right. And
I think it's easy for me. It's become easy for me because I don't even have to think about it now. There's just one little thing in my brain that says, let's create a wonderful world. That's it.
That's it. And everything else comes from that.
Yeah.
Wow. So Simon, can you spell his last name?
Yes, S-I-N-E-K.
I got it right. Yeah, just to make sure. Fantastic. So that'll be a one for our book list. I think, CC.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I've just talked about strengths. What have been your strengths? What have you discovered about yourself along this journey that you've had that you didn't really think about before?
Courage, I think, is a big one.
Oh, nice.
Resilience. You know, that bounce back ability no matter what happens. When you've seen the darkest of what's possible, you know how not to go there again. So it's resilience, but vision. Vision, I believe, is the most powerful strength we can have. And then that's really tightly entwined with your values, because they must be congruent. Nobody is really going to achieve a vision for good if their values are not tightly aligned with that. It's the sabotage thing again.
I think people underestimate what core values are about and what they can do for you and how they link to your belief systems and the messages you tell yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And we talk to people, and I know Carol and I have spoken to people, and you talk about values and beliefs, and you can almost see them rolling their eyes like, oh, this old chestnut again. But they're underestimating the power within those small words of values and beliefs.
Well, this is why I did a separate chapter in the book on vitalise your values. Vitalise, what does vitalise mean? Well, it's life, isn't it? Bring them alive. Not just words that you will speak, but there's quite a detailed exercise in there about vitalising your values. I can't overemphasize that. It's not what you say necessarily, is it, either? It's what you do. Your values will always show in what you do.
Yes. Sorry, I just need to get that down. Fantastic. So what makes you, Valerie, rethink your plans?
Okay, so I will have my vision, and the vision is for this wonderful world, and I will be on track with elements that are it's a picture. It is a picture, and it's holistic. So it has my family, it has the business, it has things that impact on it, because you can't have a vision in isolation. It's you in the world. The kind of things that can impact on it, I'm not so concerned about political things, but I do find it sometimes wonderful to have the opportunity. For example, today, I don't know if you know it, but it's National Poetry Day in the UK. So I put a post out this morning around vision. I just thought something up around vision, and I know that's just kind of one little thing, but it can be a challenge because you're seeing opportunities all the time. Once you go through this process, your SatNav switched on and it's opportunity everywhere. So you do need to learn to be selective, and it's almost without thinking. something comes by and is this, or will it take me off to tangent?
Yeah.
Because in my earlier life, I could get pulled off at a tangent. I was a great champion for small businesses in my earlier days. And I'd end up doing things like, I remember, you know, my family still laugh about it and they take the mickey. But I was on a programme, a political programme, questioning the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who was Nigel Lawson at the time. And I think I stood up and I said something like, "Now tell me, Chancellor, why do you think it's okay?" And then I went into my question, and but it was about the punitive legislation for small business owners on national insurance. You know, that, and I think I said something like, you know, when you work all hours God sends, you know, like 12 hours a day. Well, I don't do anything like that now, but you know, in the early days,
Oh, yeah.
you do what it takes, don't you? And, you know, I think they thought I was a bit, but I, you know, still got it on tape somewhere. And when the family want to laugh, that's one of the things.
That's about passion, isn't it? That's about passion for a cause, you know, and not being shy about sharing that passion.
And it you know, if you're not careful, it comes out very emotionally, and as I would in those days when I was really passionate about that particular issue. But now I find I can put all my passion into the vision, and to doing something actually does change the world, rather than talking to one person on a platform. Do something that does change the world.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just just trying to get that. There's so much to write about. I'm just trying to get these things round. This question for me is, I'm looking forward to hearing the answer on this one, because I consider you to be somebody that has gone ahead and achieved so much in your life, but also given back so much as well. So how would you define success?
Okay. Yeah, success. Oh, it's being able to be in your happy place. It's success is not about oneself. It's about what we see happening around us. It's about what happens for other people. That's success for me. I get the biggest kick. I mean, when Karen launched her charity, and then when we were able to look at the strategy for qualifying as a worthy cause for the B1G1 Global Giving Initiative, that for me is success. When someone else who said, "Oh, I'd really love to be able to stand up on a global stage and talk about this or that or the other," and then, you know, you see them, you're able to empower them to do it. That's success for me. Success is not money. Success is a state of being. It's not money, it's not things, it's not possessions. It's a state of being and feeling. You know, and people can tell you you're a success, and you don't necessarily realize that you're doing what you do, and it comes naturally.
So that leads on quite nice to my next question, which is, based on that description, do you see yourself as successful?
I see myself as successful in as much as I have created the freedom to live the life that I love, and to enable other people to discover how to create and live the life they love. That to me is success. I have a wonderful family. That to me is success. I have a wonderful family. And yeah, I'm alive, you know. That's the most powerful thing for me, because when I wake up in the morning, I have gratitude, I appreciate,
Yes.
I know whatever happens in the day, it's going to be wonderful. Whatever happens, it will be wonderful. It doesn't matter what happens. You know, your apple cart can be upset, or your boat can be tilted to one side, but you're alive. If you're alive, you can deal with anything.
Yeah.
I like that. Whatever happens, life is wonderful. Having that mindset. Yeah, just made a note of that. So I'm going to now pass you back to CC, and you'll be glad to know we're on the home straight, Valerie.
Okay. Okay.
All day. But we could be here all day.
Yes, fantastic.
Here all day. Why, Valerie, again, love to hear what we've just heard, but looking at your professional successes, and we've talked about them all the way through today, what two things would you say have actually contributed to that? Just two things, just
Right.
those inspirational things in your life.
Okay.
You got there. Yeah.
Belief and courage. Believe you can, then follow through and dare to do it.
Love that, because it's very true, isn't it? Because I often go down the old road and feel the fear and do it anyway, because that was something that was instilled in me years ago, and I still live that life. You know, I think, oh my gosh, I can't do that, and then do it, and so that is more or less that, and I
the
just think that's wonderful.
Yeah, the wonderful things that now we know there are tools and techniques that we can use to help us to do that.
It is easier if you're prepared to read and learn.
Yes.
And follow that sort of information and help. So, how important is it to you to find time out for your own well-being?
Well, it's really important. I meditate every morning before I do anything. That's my first thing in the morning. I forget how many stars I've got now with Insight Timer, which is my preferred platform. Okay. I've got a few, and that's incidental really, but meditate comes first. Just clear your mind, set yourself up for a wonderful day. You may already have done some work the night previous in your little house on the right bank in your video editing suite. But yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. And the thing about meditating, again, is something I emphasize in the book. You do not have to sit in a yoga position, and you can go outside and walk around the garden or walk through a woodland. You know, I love to meditate in those places as well. In fact, I love trees, absolutely love trees. So, you know, even looking at trees is calming for me. And, you know, I have that wonderful gift, a lot of people do if they only took time to develop it, to use my imagination. So even when you're in a difficult environment or difficult circumstances, you can go to your internal happy place. And so I try and eat healthily most of the time, and take exercise, drink plenty of water. And it's just a natural thing, you know, it's just the way I live my day.
And it does make a difference, believe you me. I've started in my later life to drink more water than I've ever done before, but I just find it is better, and I feel much better for it. And that's just doing a simple thing like just drinking more water and getting, you know, that sort of build up of what you need in your body on a daily basis. It does really help a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's proven in scientific fact now, isn't it? That, you know, if your brain needs hydration, if you want to keep going and you don't want to get sleepy, your blood needs to flow smoothly around your body. And so it's absolute common sense, really.
Totally, absolutely. So, Valerie, you spend an awful large proportion of your time working with other people starting a business and supporting them. So if whoever's watching and whoever will be watching this video, what advice would you give someone starting out in business now?
My first piece of advice has absolutely got to be, get clear on your vision.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it? What's it about? Don't think about the money.
Yeah.
That don't be driven. Money drives, vision pulls. Money's like pain.
Yeah.
It pushes and drives. Vision pulls.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm just writing that one.
Yeah. No, I'm running out of ink.
Valerie, I need another pen.
New pen, please. Need another pen.
Yes, where's the pens? That's wonderful, because that's so true. And everybody goes into business thinking, I must make money. And of course, that's not.
You need to have, we understand that you need to generate income. But absolutely, I like that. Money drives, vision pulls. Wow.
Well, a great gift my maternal grandmother gave me was the ability to make something from nothing. So you can start from a very low base, particularly now, more so than ever. Yeah. There are so many free resources available for someone wanting to start an online business. Number one for me would have to be vision, because how do you know, for example, without a vision, if you're going in the right direction? Yeah. How do you know if that is what you are meant to do if you haven't got your vision?
Totally agree with that. It's no good going, it's like a blank piece of paper, isn't it? You need to be writing down what your thoughts are before you can move on to the next stage. I prefer to work from the blank piece of paper, which Marcia knows just the way I am. But obviously, you've got things in your mind before the blank piece of paper shows itself.
Your head's not blank, just the paper's blank.
This is full of whatever.
Now the thing is that there is a very specific way you need to get that information out of your head, and in a way that it's reconnected with your heart, mind, body and spirit. Yeah. So we can logically think things that are not the right things for us. And I know you'll know this, Carol, and I know you know it, Marcia. But there's a specific way you need to get this out, and I detail that completely in the chapter on vesting your vital vision blueprint in the middle of the book. That's the core that is the central foundation of all the work that I do. And that's something that I've run completely on its own, and people have taken a whole day to work through it. And they end the day absolute clarity, focus and direction for where they're going.
Brilliant. So Valerie, can I now ask you, what does the future hold for Valerie Dwyer, author, coach and entrepreneur?
Okay, the future holds some more books coming now that I'm, through the recent situation, I have learnt to become a publisher as well as an author. So several more books coming the way, some children's books in there as well. Doing a lot more with B1G1 in terms of the legacy for the world. And starting my own foundation, which is something I've been waiting for the time to be right, and we're not far from that now. So there'll always be something else. Someone once said to me, when are you going to retire? I said, retire? They'll need to nail down the coffin lid.
I've got time. That's easy too. I've got time to retire.
You won't let me go. It's wonderful, and it's very gorgeous and lovely to be wanted, and I love it. But I've got to go sometime.
But we shall talk about the book later.
Yeah. The big thing, Carol, in answer to your question, the big thing is I would love to see governments, countries, states, parliaments, the World Health Organization, the UN, Davos, wherever it matters, they have read the book, they understand the power of this process, and they employ it within their organization.
Yeah.
And someone once said to me, well, that's a bit big, isn't it? The world. Well, why not?
Why not?
The world is a big place, but at the same time, the world's making so many large, huge mistakes in many ways. It wouldn't do any harm just to come back, gravitate back to using one's common sense and what we know works, and supporting all of us and each other, really. So, Valerie, I know you gave out your, your website and your details at the beginning, but is there anything, any other, for people watching this and obviously interested in finding out again more about you, is there anything else that you've missed off the list of contact details that you can add now?
Okay, thank you for that, Carol. For people who are interested to know a little bit more, we have a waitlist page for the programme, and it's www.mywonderfullifecoach, that's all one word, all lowercase, .co.uk/destination-me.
Okay. Right, that's great. My Wonderful Life Coach, all small. So www.mywonderfullifecoach.co.uk/destination-me.
Yes.
Okay.
Fantastic. And we'll make sure that's in the
Yeah,
write-up as well.
Valerie,
Okay.
I'm going to pass you back to Marcia now. I've really, really enjoyed this conversation, interview, whichever one, what title ever you want to give it, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carol. It's been lovely having the conversation with you.
Thank you.
This is the part of the interview where Carol and I share with you some of the messages that we're taking away from what you've said today. And it may not be a direct reflection of your actual words, but it's how we've translated your words into something that's meaningful for us. And what I will do is type the messages up, and Carol will send hers and I'll send mine on an email. So you've got those for future reference. But I must say, I think I'm going to have a bit of a job going through. This is like 3 pages worth of messages. So I'm going to pick out a few, and if you don't mind, Carol, I'm going to start with this one because I know we're probably going to have some of the same things.
I think we'll have many overlaps.
I'm jumping in there first of all. So the first one that I've got is see your experiences as gifts.
Yes.
That is so lovely.
Yes.
And in our work, Carol and I, we talk about experiences as markers, but I really like the tone of that gift. It's a positive and it's uplifting, whether they are they've caused you hassles in the past or not. The experience that you pull out of those are gifts in terms of learning, and I do love that. Use your success SatNav.
I love that. Yeah.
that will I'm sure that will be on a quote later, Valerie Dwyer on Facebook, using your use your success SatNav. When you were talking about having a particular radar for seeing people, recognizing people that needed help and support, I thought about some of the work that Carol and I do in terms of orchid spotters. And we have this phrase that we use to describe people that can see people from a distance, and we call them orchid spotters. So it's almost like you fly over that field of rubble and grass and weeds and everything else, and you can spot the little tiny development of the orchid.
That's lovely.
Yeah, that is really powerful, and one of our events that we run is called the Orchid Spotters. So that just made me, as you said, it made me go goose pimply. So that was brilliant. Let's have a look. What else have I got here before I pass over? Create a legacy for the world. You know, a lot of the stuff that we do is about creating legacies in people, but you're taking it to that next level and making it even bigger. Create a legacy for the world. And that's in terms of an action that Karen, I and Pete, when we get together next, we need to sit and think about how are we doing this, if we are at all doing this within our business. Find your calm place. You talked about when you were looking at, you know, you find calmness when you look at trees, go out into nature, and finding your calm place is really important, because that's where the creativity will come from. So finding that calm place is important. Create the freedom to live the life you love. Create the freedom to live the life you love. That's another quote that you might see later on out there in terms of Facebook. I mean, I could go on and on. Just a couple more. A message for me is about learning to be selective. So there's opportunities now here, but actually learn to be selective more in those opportunities. And that's about the streamlining, isn't it? And that's something still that I think I need to work on. And values will always show in what you do, not necessarily in what you say. It is about your actions. There's so many. I mean, I'm going round my page. I'm looking. I'm flicking back the same pages.
All mine.
Sorry, I've actually done 8 or 9. So I'll now pass on to CC to ask you what you're taking away.
Well, all of that and more, because I've just crossed off all the ones.
And that's why I went first. I'm sorry. That was very strategic of me.
I know. Thank you, dear. One of the messages for me that I'm taking away is to look at what is happening around you. Just look at it. You know, it's not rocket science to sort of sit back and just take a minute to recognize what is happening, whether it's day-to-day life or in your business or what to do. The other is a great belief, and then the courage of your convictions or your plans, or however you want to entitle that. That was really strong in me, and I got a bit goosebumpy about that, because it took me a while for the light to go on years ago in my life. That what I was doing was probably what people were saying to you, mentoring, advising, which way you want to put it. I was a personnel officer for a lot of years, and all of those elements came into the role, but it's how you handled it. So whenever we were facing a little bit of adversity, like lots of redundancies and various other things that we did, my manager, my director, put me in the front line of that, to talk to people, which terrified me at the time. But she said, you're doing it all the time. You're talking to people, you're being sympathetic, you're trying to help them and all of that. So that was a light switch for me. And people saying to me, as they said it to you, so that. I love the bit about the left bank and the right bank brain and I love all that. That's great, because you never think you can do that. And you should. I agree. And I love the bit, you know, be clear on your vision. You know, your vision pulls you, money drives you, I
Yeah,
know, but
I like that. Yeah,
that was really good because that's just a few short words that
Mm.
mean so much. I love that. I thought that was great. And oh, crumbs, I don't know because Marcy has said a lot of them as well. Success is a state of being and feeling.
yes,
And if you don't have
like
that, I would imagine you'll never
Mm.
be terribly successful there. Excuse me. And let's create a wonderful world.
yeah,
Yes, please. I
yes,
could go on. Courage, resilience, all of those things. Um, Transformation in your life, determination. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold and a sore throat, which hasn't shown until now. Um, so thank you. You know, it's been impactable, if that is a word. It's
Well, it is
impactable.
now.
It is now. It's gone viral. It will do. Thank you, Val. I've got, you know, there's heaps more, but
yeah.
it's
We'll
good
type them up and we'll make sure we get them over
to make
to you
sure
so
that
you
we
can
Yeah.
do.
actually look at them in the cold light of day, really, and take from them what you will and use them however you want to. Really. Anything that's a direct quote will from you will put in
Yeah.
quotation marks, and
Okay.
you'll recognise them anyway from your own language.
Yeah.
They're yours. But Valerie, just to say and to reiterate what Carol's just said, thank you for a fantastic interview today. Thank you for sharing your personal and your professional life with us and everybody else that's going to listen to this. And we hope that people will take comfort from your own journey and how you've gone from adversity to
Yeah.
where you are today, as well as learn from their own experiences as well. So part of it is looking at other people's, but it's also about reflecting back, isn't it, on your own life and
Mm.
saying, actually, yes, I've got stuff that I can learn from me too. So thank you very much for that.
And thank you. Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you.